The devil. Oh, you. Anyway, ooh, watch out for that uppercut. Oh, I got you then, didn't I? Anyway, right. Before we get started, have a look at this. Got this delivered today. Now, this intrigued me, and that's why I said yes to it, okay? Because something a little bit different, so I want to have a look. So make sure you're subscribed. Ding that notification bell. Oh, otherwise, you're going to miss out.
You'll be sorry if you don't.
Anyway, so I'm going to review this today. My Marantz tape deck. Now, a few people have commented, is that a tape deck you've got on there? And it is. It's the Marantz SD-57, I think from the late 90s. And now some of you may be saying, it's 2024. Are you mental? Why have you got a tape deck in 2024? Well, look, I'm not just a fan of music. I'm a fan of music media. So I love all the different media types and trying them out and experimenting with them. And although, you know, tapes are a bit old hat, I still love to use them now and again. I like CDs and records. I think I used to have a mini disc player. I'd love to have a reel-to-reel, but they're a bit expensive at the moment, aren't they? Ooh. Anyway, so the reason I got this particular deck was because it's got Dolby S on it. And it's also got some really, really nice functions on there, which I liked as well. Now, Dolby S came out in, I think, around about 1989, okay? Now, there was Dolby B, Dolby C, then Dolby S. Now, they missed out half the alphabet there, didn't they? They jumped straight from C to S. What's going on? Why don't they call it Dolby D? Maybe they didn't want double Ds. I quite like double Ds, but that's another story. Anyway, so... I've lost track now. God. It's typical dad, isn't I? Laugh at my own jokes. Anyway. So that's why I got it, because, you know, I wanted to get it with Dolby S. Now, like, as I was saying, I got sidetracked, sorry, is that Dolby S came out in 1989, and it was supposed to be the next big thing in noise reduction for tapes, but it's a bit too late. By the time people started buying these machines, CDs took over, and that was the end of tapes really back then. The sales of them went right down. But by all accounts, Dolby S was much better than Dolby C and Dolby B. Wasn't a huge fan of Dolby C, to be fair. My old tape deck from the 80s used to have Dolby B. So that's why I bought it, to try out. I wanted to try Dolby S and compare them all. And I do find Dolby S to be superior to Dolby C and Dolby B. Anyway, with that being said, let's have a little look on the front.
Okay, here I am up here, sat in front of my tape deck. It's a bit high up here. Ooh. Anyway, okay. Right, throughout this, I don't want to forget anything. You can't see it, but I do have a little cheat sheet here that I might have to read off now and again, because I can't remember what's on the front, because I can't see it. This may look real, but it isn't, honestly. Anyway, right. So what we got over here? Well, over here we've got the power switch, the eject button, and a timer button. This is it if you want to record, time your recordings, but you do need a separate audio recorder, audio timer to be able to do that. I don't have one, so I just keep it off. I think Tecmo did a video on an audio timer. I think he used the Pioneer, and I'll put a picture here somewhere. So you need one of them. Anyway, then you got obviously the tape door behind me here. Then over here, then what we got? We've got all the buttons: play, stop, record, pause, rewind, forward, record, cancel, record, mute. Over there. And then we got the buttons then just to the left of that. And what the first one is the reset button or reset counter button. And basically you just reset the counter when you press that. Then the next one you got memo. Now, I'm not sure why you would use this. Maybe it's something to do with if you want to find a certain part of your recording and go back over it. But basically what it is that if you're recording or playing and you want to go back to a certain point in that tape, you reset the counter, press memo, and when you want to go back to that point, you just rewind and it will automatically stop at that point you set it at. Simple as that. Then you've got your Dolby noise reduction, B, C and S. Next to that then you've got MPX. Now what the MPX was for is when you're recording off FM. So sometimes when FM you may have a bit of a background hiss, and what MPX does or did was to reduce that background noise. So I remember those days, okay, when you're recording the top 40 and you're trying to stop it just before the DJ talks. Ooh, you blinking DJ. And they deliberately talked over the song to stop us recording them. Oh, good old days, eh? Then we got auto-tuning. So, with the auto-tuning, this is a handy little function, because even though the player, the recorder, whatever, tape deck, it automatically reads what tape is in it. So it knows it's a normal bias, a high bias chrome tape, or a metal tape. Just by the little indentations on the top, it can just tell. But you may have two metal tapes where the characteristics may be slightly different. And what this auto-tuning does, it optimizes each recording characteristic of each tape individually. So you just press and hold it for 1 second. It goes through all this thing, blah, blah, blah. It goes back and stops this and it's obviously optimizing the tape. Then it starts recording and off you go. Fan-flipping-tastic. Then what we got? Oh, the headphone socket and the headphone volume next to it. Now, I use my Hi-Fi Man Diva Pros for this open backs. And it's okay. It's alright. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst I've ever tested. It's okay. It's not as good as my Leak Stereo 230 amplifier. Not as good as that headphone, but it's alright. Okay? And then we got the bias. Now what the bias does, again another handy little tool, is that if you record something and you play it back and you're like, oh god, that treble's a bit high, you can turn the bias down a couple of dB to take the edge off it. Turn down that top end. But the opposite can be true. If it's a little dark, if you think it needs a bit more top end on it, you can turn it the other way. Put a bit more top end on. How good is that? And right on the end then you got the balance. And simply what that is, if you're looking at your left and right channels when you set your record levels, and one channel looks like it's constantly going a bit lower than the other, you can use that balance to just even them up a bit. And there you go. Right. I'm glad to be off there and back to normal size. Hang on a sec.
That's better. Right. So, you must all be wondering, how does it sound? Well, do you know what? It sounds pretty good. Now, unfortunately, I can't record from my Leak Stereo 230 amp because modern amps don't have that record out function anymore. They should put it on them for enthusiasts who still like tape decks and things like that, but it's not on there. I can't put it to the pre-outs, but you can't control the volume, right? So you can't get the record. It's just too loud. Just the recorder of it doesn't work. So what I had to do was record a track off my laptop out of the headphone jack into 2 RCAs plugged into the back of the record in on this tape deck. Now that's not ideal because obviously the headphone socket and the DAC in my laptop is rubbish. Okay, so it's not giving the tape deck much of a chance really. All right. Ideally, what you need in between that is a DAC of some sort with a pre-out or something that can be governed by volume, so it's not going to blast it out. But I just had to work with what I had. Okay. Anyway, in saying that, do you know what? The result wasn't that bad. So I've done a comparison between the original track and the recording. Okay. So have a listen to this and let me know what you think. Hui! So what do you reckon on that? Not bad, eh? Considering, you know, it was going through that crappy headphone socket using the crappy DAC in the laptop. Not bad at all. I do think it was a little bit, sometimes a little bit on the top end. And what I should have done, maybe, if I went back and did it again, I would use the bias here to just take the edge off that top end a little bit. But otherwise, a really good recording considering what it was up against. And I think if I recorded it directly from an amp, or maybe via a DAC, it would have been a lot better again. So I was quite impressed how well it recorded. I thought it was pretty damn good. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Before we come to the end of the video, I just wanted to mention this. So if you do intend to get a tape deck for the first time, be aware where you need to set your record level for each tape type. So for normal bias, you set your record level to +1. For chrome, which is my preference, you set it to +3. And for metal, you set it to +5, okay? Now, I would get metal tapes, but they're too flippin' expensive. So chrome tapes are pretty good though, so I stick to them. Just thought I'd mention that, just in case if anybody's interested. And there you go. Okay, and this only cost me, I think it was about 90 quid. And I've seen some for sale recently as low as 70 quid. So if you get a good one that's all working, it's a very decent tape deck. It's only a 2-head tape deck. It's not what they call Nakamichi. It's not one of them, okay, right? It's not as good as that 3-head or anything. But for a 2-head tape deck, it's very good. Anyway, that's come to the end of the video. I'll catch you in the next one.